Hello and welcome to Good Morning KU. I'm Farzin Vasugian alongside Jackson Long. Going to be talking a lot of KU hoops. Also going to recap the Winter Olympics. Later in the program, we'll have an interview with a manager with a new restaurant on campus, and we'll also bring you the news. But first, we're going to talk about the Longhorns and their visit to Lawrence, Kansas this past week.
Yeah, the Texas Longhorns came to town Saturday in a huge game with major Big 12 implications. Let's get to the highlights right here. Joel Embiid and the Jayhawks looking for revenge against Texas. They lost on February 1st. This is Saturday, and it came in a big way. Early on, a nice jumper. Here we go. Here come the highlights for you. Early on, a nice jumper coming from that man, Joel Embiid. Nice turnaround here over Ridley for the Longhorns, who really gave Embiid problems last time. The 7-footer, he finished with 6 blocks, breaking the KU freshman record. Transition basketball favored the Jayhawks all night, and a huge dunk from Andrew Wiggins right there, sparking a 32-5 first-half run. The Embiid block party continued there with 1 block, now 2 blocks on the Texas offense, and KU's stifling defense creates another transition opportunity. This time it's Frank Mason. He finishes the tough lay-in and had 14 points for the game. It was all KU in the second half as well, as Wiggins jump stops in the paint for the easy 2. Jayhawks win 85-54 and take a commanding lead in the Big 12 race. Now 3 games over Texas and 2 other opponents. Wiggins finishes with 21 points and 6 rebounds. A huge game for the KU offense, who also played just as well on defense.
Yeah, just a really incredible game for KU defensively. Only allowed, I think 54 points. That's the second fewest in a game this year by KU. Baylor, they allowed 53 points in that game on the road. But this was KU's best game defensively, just overall, really limiting Texas. They got a little bit lucky because Texas also missed a lot at the free throw line. But I think more importantly, one thing you've got to take away is just the talent, the stacked talent on this team. Anyone can come off the bench and have a great game. Frank Mason, he was the guy who came off the bench and really came to the occasion for KU and came through in a big way to give KU this runaway win here.
Let's talk about the defense. Coach Self, of course, always prides himself on the defense, and it really started with Nadir Tharp cutting off the point guard position for Texas. Isaiah Taylor, who had a big game last time down in Austin, only 1 for 14 shooting in this contest. How was KU able to cut off the head of the snake, so to say, with Texas as point guard?
Well, these things don't come up on the stats sheet so much other than blocks, which Joel Embiid, we can go on and on, but you mentioned Nadir Tharp. Tharp had a really good game defensively, only 1 field goal in this game, but really did a good job limiting the guards from Texas. Had trouble making shots from beyond the arc. That gave Texas a lot of problems, and that allowed KU to kind of get over that early hump in the first couple of minutes and then just take this game away from Texas in the first half and continue to play well defensively. I think one of the things Bill Self has always been critical of with his team, even after big wins, is that sometimes they let teams adjust and improve in the second half offensively. KU did not let that happen this time, and Texas could not find a way to get on a scoring rhythm, and that's something Bill Self really wants, and he got it this time.
Andrew Wiggins also plays that great defense, but on top of that, he's been hitting his groove offensively in the last couple of weeks. What has he been doing differently that's kind of been transitioning into more points and more efficient offensive production from him?
I think he's just really playing more aggressively. He's going to take shots from beyond the arc, but more and more now, 9 times out of 10, instead of that shot from beyond the arc, he's going to go drive down the basket, try to draw that foul, or maybe even get that and one. That's how you get your points. That's how you get more opportunities to score when you go to the charity stripe. So I think Andrew Wiggins has been doing a little bit more of that recently than we have seen him in the beginning of the season. So that's really helped out Kansas, and especially Andrew Wiggins, and that's going to help him personally when it comes to his draft stock. A lot has been made out of his NBA potential, and NBA scouts like those kinds of things, and he's going to continue to do that, and that's really going to help KU when they get ready in March for that big tournament.
85-54 win. Texas goes down to KU. Now, this is a big win for the Jayhawks, now going 3 games over Oklahoma, Kansas State, and Texas in the Big 12. They have a chance tonight against Oklahoma, which we will talk about later in the show, to clinch at least a share of their 10th straight, a decade of dominance for KU basketball.
And that doesn't just happen.
No, it doesn't just happen. One of the great feats in college basketball. So that's it for KU Texas. Now let's wrap up the Olympics a little bit. The games in Sochi are now done. The closing ceremony this past weekend. They even made fun of the ring collapse in their closing ceremony, which I thought was a good time. What were your impressions from Sochi? Then we'll talk about the medal count, stuff like that.
Well, I think the United States, you always look at them in the sport of hockey. It's not necessarily too big. The traditional media in the United States always covers those big sports such as hockey, and kind of a devastating loss for the United States women's hockey team and the men's team as well. But the women's team kind of reminds you of that Chiefs playoff game from a couple of months ago. just the way they lost right there. But you've got to give credit to everyone on that team right there. Just the amount of effort and time they put in there just to get to that point. And in the United States, finishing second behind the team behind the country, I should say, that hosted the Olympics. So I think you've got to give a lot of props to the United States. There's no need to be ashamed or upset with the way they performed. They definitely did a great job in the Olympics this year.
Yeah, definitely a lot of sports covered. I think the main American focus was probably the men's hockey team. The women's team obviously had a great chance at gold. They were up 2 goals late in the third period, tied it for Canada, and then won in overtime for the victory. So that's the wrap up for Sochi and the Olympic Games. I guess the next world event coming up is the World Cup this summer in Brazil. So that'll be fun as well. They actually just released a new official song. It's by Pitbull.
Oh, did they?
So Ola Ola or something with Jennifer Lopez. But be sure to check that as well. So that's the next world event coming up. But that's it for what we have in this first segment.
And next segment, we will have Stephanie Bickle interviewing a manager on campus for a new restaurant here at KU. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Good Morning KU. I'm Stephanie Bickle, here with the manager of Panda Express here in the Union, Kriss Copp. So today it opens at 10:30 a.m. What kind of brought Panda Express to KU?
Well, our founders actually went to school not too far from here at Baker University, so they've always had strong roots and ties here in Kansas. And they've actually been trying to bring a restaurant to KU for about 3 years now, from what I understand. So that's kind of the big base behind it. Plus, KU is a great atmosphere, campus, lots of students. So I think we'll do really well here.
Okay, and so what was the delay? I know it was scheduled to open in October. Were there anything that kind of pushed it back?
Yes, we had some issues with legal permits, and then also the construction doesn't always go quite as smooth as planned. And then we also want it to be a really smooth opening, make it right for everybody else so that the students, can enjoy the food. So we wanted everything to be just right. So it kind of delayed it a few months.
Okay, and do you think that delay is kind of making it a little more exciting?
Yes, a lot more people asking about it. We actually have a location over off Iowa Street, and I was been there for the last month, and I get probably about 40 questions a day, people asking. So, it's from what I understand, everybody's pretty excited about it, and we're excited to see what's going to happen today.
Do you have extra employees on staff for today's grand opening?
Yes, we have a few extra. We have an extra 3 or 4 more than we'll probably have. Just anticipation, not exactly sure. So we think that we're going to be pretty busy today. So hopefully everybody comes out.
Okay, and do you think the popularity will still remain even after the grand opening?
Yes, Panda Express is really strong with the college-age students, so I think that it will stay around. And then, like I said, we do have a really strong college base at the other store, so I think it's going to translate over to the campus really well.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time here, and be sure to come to Panda Express at 10:30 on the 3rd floor in the Union. Now, after a quick break, we'll come back to the news.
Good morning, I'm Bentley Leonard.
And I'm Emma Hogue. This is your Good Morning KU News Update. A carbon monoxide leak killed a restaurant manager and sickened 27 other people at Long Island Mall. Emergency crews rushed to the Legal Seafoods restaurant in Huntington Station, New York, after hearing that someone had collapsed in the basement. Police found the manager unconscious, and he was later pronounced dead at the hospital. A town official says investigators found a leak in the water's heater pipe.
Conservative Republicans are accused of trying to force out University of Kansas Chancellor Bernadette Gray-Little. Senate Democratic leader Anthony Hensley told the Lawrence Journal-World on Friday that Governor Sam Brownback is trying to pressure the chancellor out of her position. Brownback's office denied the allegation, as did the chairman of the Kansas Board of Regents. Some conservative Republicans in the legislature have criticized the management of KU over budget concerns, graduation rates, and for not firing journalism professor David Guth over a tweet that harshly denounced the National Rifle Association.
If you hope to avoid the DMV for an additional year or 2, then you might be in luck. A Kansas House committee is considering a bill to allow residents to renew their driver's license every 8 years instead of 6. The bill would also allow drivers over 70 to renew their licenses every 5 years instead of 4. 13 other states and the District of Columbia renew driver's license every 8 years. Colorado and South Carolina have a 10-year requirement, while Arizona licenses remain valid until the holder turns 65.
Comcast customers are about to see an improvement in their streaming service from Netflix thanks to a deal the two companies reached Sunday. The multi-year agreement will allow Netflix to stream using a direct connection to Comcast's network rather than a third party. This means all viewers will see an increase in streaming speeds on their movies and TV shows. The two had been trying to broker a deal for months, and many believe the agreement opens the door for similar arrangements between Netflix and other broadband providers like Verizon and AT&T.
Kansas's lawmakers are refusing action to a fluoride water bill. Last Wednesday, lawmakers listened to opposing sides testify on how fluoride affects water quality in Kansas. The bill is trying to increase Kansas's awareness of the harmful effects of fluoride on the human body. According to a 2010 report by Centers for Disease Control, fluoride is added to 70% of U.S. public drinking water. So far, the committee has taken no action on the bill.
The game is still a year away, but the Arizona Super Bowl host committee has already fired up its social media campaign. According to the Sports Business Exchange, the integrated media will be bilingual for this coming Super Bowl, which is a first. The chairman of the Arizona Super Bowl host committee said the goal is to have 49,000 total social followers across the platform in time for 49th Super Bowl in 2015.
Though the Kansas Bill 2453 has created disputes and opinions locally, the situation against the gay community has been discussed internationally as well. Uganda has just signed an anti-gay bill into law. The law states that persons infected with HIV, sex with minors, and serial sex offenders will be prosecuted with life in prison.
And that will wrap it up for today's news update. I'm Bentley Leonard.
And I'm Emma.
Have a great day.
Welcome back to Good Morning KU. Jackson Long, Farzin Vasugian here with you, wrapping things up here to talk KU and OU. Big game tonight. You can hear it on 90.7 FM KJHK. Jackson Long will be calling it alongside Alex Blau. You can listen to that at 8 o'clock tonight. We'll have the broadcast for you live on 90.7 FM KJHK. And Jackson, let's get right to it. A couple of the players to look at, the post players, Cameron Clark and Ryan Spangler. Those are the two guys that are going to be facing against Joel Embiid, Perry Ellis, Tarek Black. Can they create some sort of challenge, or is that a big mismatch, and that's going to give KU the big advantage?
Well, I don't think it's a huge mismatch, really, for Oklahoma. I think that Ryan Spangler for the Sooners has the ability to really bang down low. He's one of the leading rebounders in the Big 12, averaging over 9 rebounds per game. So he has the ability to really battle down low with Joel Embiid. And this is one of the best offensive teams in the country, and a lot of it stems from their offensive rebounding ability. But I would anticipate seeing a lot of points scored in this game. It was 90-83 when the game was playing down in Norman, Oklahoma. KU won that game, but Oklahoma, one of the best scoring teams in the Big 12, and so I anticipate a lot of points being scored in this game and this year.
Win this game, and you get a share of the Big 12 for the 10th consecutive year.
What an incredible experience that this KU team has to have. A 10th straight, the decade of dominance, like we mentioned earlier, but something that's just unfathomable, really, in college basketball these days. And so KU has the opportunity tonight to clinch at least a share of the title, and with one more win and maybe a loss by another opponent, then they would be set into have the full share of the title and the number 1 seed going into the Big 12 tournament.
That'll do it for us right here on Good Morning KU. Once again, you can listen to Jackson Long with Alex Blau on 90.7 FM KJHK tonight at 8. He'll have the game for you live from Allen Fieldhouse. That'll do it for this edition of Good Morning KU. He's Jackson Long. I'm Farzin Vasugian. We will not have a show next Monday, so we will talk to you guys again in 2 weeks.